All right, and we are live. And promise you, the only reason I'm smiling is because I've got my man here, Jordan from Pistons Thoughts. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty flat. But I'm gonna kick it to you first, man. How you feeling after that loss to Miami?
It's so frustrating. It's like, I mean, I get it. I can say all the tough schedule, new coach, young team, whatever, whatever, but this is 4 games. We've been in position to win the game and just decided to let the youth take over. A lot of turnovers. The fourth quarter, just insane shot selection during the
Uh,
final like 5, 6 minutes. Couldn't hit anything. No ball movement, just have the ball, shoot the ball, miss. It was bad. But I don't want to sit here and be like there's still encouraging things. There's still encouraging things, but it's just 0-4, 4 winnable games against good teams. Super frustrating.
yeah, this was the like agree with everything you said, and we're gonna talk more about that stuff. But like this was the first game where I'll be honest, I felt a bit deflated. Like,
Yeah.
just emotionally, like, the first 3 games, I've been pretty upbeat, but especially after, like, they came back like, they got down by double digits twice tonight, and they came back both times, closed the
Yep.
3rd quarter really strong,
Yep.
and, man, just the way they started that 4th quarter, I think within 2 minutes, it was out to 8 points, multiple turnovers, a bad shot, and it was just like, man, that's like and I didn't wanna tweet it, I didn't wanna think it, but I honestly felt like the game was over then. Like, within the first 2 minutes of that 4th quarter, I just wasn't sure they had another run in them, and they made some shots late, but ultimately, like, it kinda felt like this was a 12-point loss. I mean, it was 8 in the end, so it's not that much more, but it's just really deflating, I think, to see them once again crumble and uh, so they got outscored by 9 points in the 4th quarter tonight, and then that's 28 now on the season. 28 points have been outscored by in the 4th. So, apart from the Cavs game, I kinda never really whilst I kinda never really got the sense they could win that one for some reason,
Mm.
but definitely this game, definitely the Boston game and Indiana. Oh, man. I know these teams are all, like, playoff teams and have been top in the East, across the last
Sure.
few years, but it's just like, man, there is things to like, but it's hard to come up here now and be like, "Just be patient, guys."
I know.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, we knew when the schedule came out, we knew there was a very real chance it was going to start this poorly in the win-loss column. Doesn't make it any better or easier. Like we're saying, it's like they for the most part have been in a position to win. I mean, the Cade turnovers just killing us. I mean, he's been so good everywhere else. It's just that, 3, 4, 5 turnovers again. I know we were happy with 3. I forget which
yeah,
game it was, or the first game of the year.
yeah,
But, when you start creeping 4, 5, 6 plus, it's like
yeah.
you're spotting the other team, but it's such a swing. You don't get to score and they go score. So
Yeah,
we got to
I
figure
think
that out.
yeah, like you were saying, I think he finished with 5 tonight, and unlike some of the other games, the ones tonight, I think he had 2 right at the start of that 4th quarter, and they were
Yeah.
really crucial. They
Yep.
were killers. And like other players have turnovers, but I think tonight's the first game with Cade where whilst he was awesome in the first half, I just felt like, it's not all on him, but he kind of didn't come like I can't put forth a defense for him. Like I don't think he came through in the 4th,
Yeah.
and I think his turnovers were really bad ones, and it just yeah, he didn't come through, and that's fine. But I think fans are tired of it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Big
mentioned
time.
this, yeah, you mentioned this, and I think it's a great call. The shot selection in that 4th quarter, what was going on? Fontecchio pull up three, Tim Hardaway Jr. Like the thing for me, like I don't,
Everybody.
yeah, man, like Cade was short on a lot. Like Ivy made some threes at the end, but I don't mind if you're gonna be a 3-point heavy team, like at all. But just swing the ball a little bit. Like when it's just
Just a
dribble,
little
dribble,
bit.
dribble. Just a couple of passes, like,
Yeah.
especially when you really need a bucket. Like, if you got some momentum, I don't mind Fontecchio pulling up in transition, but when you're down, like, 6 to 8 on the road, like, they're just killers.
Yeah, I mean, it like, they were treating it like they were down 6 with 30 seconds left for that
Yeah,
whole, like, 3, 4-minute stretch.
yeah.
And it's like, just chip away at like, you still got plenty of time. I mean, I'm sure JB is probably talking to them about that after the game, but yeah, just brutal shot selection from the vets and the young players, just
Yeah.
everybody.
No, for sure. Like it was hard to watch because the other thing was like I just felt like defensively it was such a grind. And I
Yeah,
thought there was actually like the defense, I don't know, it's going to be an issue all season, but I thought in that third quarter they got some really good momentum down that end. But it's such a
yep,
grind. It feels like against Miami just to get a stop, just to get a rebound. Like how
yeah.
many long rebounds killed us tonight. But then when you play all that defense, you actually get a stop and then you just quick trigger three and it's coming straight back down. Like I just think like mentally the players are just exhausted and then you got to go again. It's just, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think too, like Cade, I mean, everything was short in the fourth quarter. Speaking of exhausted, I mean, I think physically he might have been a little exhausted, which is, I mean, that might not be it, but short shots consistently is usually a sign of a little bit of tiredness. I mean, he was in foul trouble. That was, I mean, and they played really well without him. This isn't for everybody to go run and be like, oh my god, the Pistons are better without Cade. But just to come back in, turning it over, short shots, like not to put it on Cade, like you said, but like he's got to come through. Like this is
yeah,
the season where like he needs to. I mean, he's been great for the ever other than turnovers, offensively, even defensively, he's been really good. But if he really wants to be that guy, he's got to be that guy when it matters in the fourth quarter.
100% agree. And I think tonight was his chance to kind of put a bit of a stamp on this team and be like, we are a different team. And I do think they're a different team this
Yeah,
season. I really do. But at the same time, anyone who says to me they're not different, I kind of like, I can't, I'm not
yeah,
going to push back too much because they're 0-4. And tonight I really felt like it was Cade's chance to show
yep,
I'm the guy. Don't worry, I got this. And he just kind of immediately let the game get away at the start of the fourth. So I guess with Cade, we've kind of spoke about the negatives. Was there anything tonight that you liked, or since we've last spoken since game one, like just what have you seen from Cade in your
I
overall
mean,
thoughts?
he's been unbelievable offensively. I mean, tonight he got off to such a hot start. If it wasn't for the foul trouble in the second quarter, we would have seen more from him. And obviously the third quarter too. But he's just like up until the fourth quarter, he has been that guy. Like he
Yeah,
has been that superstar we've been waiting on. Just got to put a full game together, and especially got to do it in the fourth. But no, I mean, I think he's been great. Like shots going in. Um, it really comes down to turnovers. Like I think he's taken a step defensively. Like his rookie year, he was solid defensively. Last year didn't seem to care on that end, as did nobody on the team.
yeah,
But yeah, I think just other than the turnovers, I think he's been great. Like he has been that guy. Just gotta really dial back the turnovers consistently and needs to be there in the fourth.
yeah. I think you've summarized it perfectly. I agree with all of that, and yeah, it's a deflating one tonight, but I think Cade overall is having a really good start to the season.
Yeah,
Even with those kind of killer turnovers, like I think if you weren't a Pistons fan and you're just watching him, like he's taking another step. And
yeah,
when you remove the emotion from it, like he looks like a genuine all star, like without
yeah.
question.
I
Um,
mean, he also looks quicker. Like so does Jaden Ivey. They both look
yeah,
quicker, which
yeah,
is very exciting because
yeah,
Cade is somebody who like obviously his game is super smooth, like pretty slow pace, and like to see his first step seeming, at least to my eyes, look quicker, and he's getting to the basket quicker. That's big.
yeah.
If I'm not projecting and just making that up.
No, no, I agree with you. I think he's looked, yeah, especially getting to the rim, he's looked better. I agree for sure. I think where I want to go next, and this is a guy who I think has disappointed me And I think after 4 games now, it's time to just have a bit of a chat about Tobias Harris. Tonight, I think he started okay. In the first half, I thought he was okay. They got him going a little bit, but
Yeah.
finishes tonight with 9 points, 4 of 11. Another game not hitting a three. Another game where tonight he airballed a corner three in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He had like a block, 10 boards. So like that just I think for all the pressure on Cade in the fourth and him having his struggles, it would be nice if his veteran
Yeah.
scorer could come through. So
Yeah.
where are you at with Tobias? I know it's still early, but I think it's a fair conversation.
I mean, I agree. I'm not worried about it. Just because he is who he is. Like we talked about that in the first episode, where it's just like you're gonna get just offense from him. He's gonna give you some flurries. Like theoretically, when the game is getting out of hand, he can settle you down with a couple buckets. Definitely need him in the fourth quarter there. Definitely got to be hitting shots, but I mean, I'm not worried. Like same with like Malik Beasley tonight, who obviously shot terribly. But it's like these guys have just hit shots their whole careers. Like, granted, the caveat is this has happened to the Pistons time and time again over my fandom. But I don't think that's the case this time, where someone just comes and forgets how to shoot. Happens, tale as old as time. But I think it's these guys. I mean, Malik up until today, first 3 games,
Yeah.
fantastic. I think Tobias will probably start to get it going. I'm not worried about it, but definitely disappointing start.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to put Tim Hardaway Jr. in this conversation as well, but I think THJ was huge in that third quarter to get them back in the
Yeah.
game. Even if he did have a couple of questionable shots in the fourth, like I think his play was huge. So
I
I
mean,
think
he's the one player who earned a couple,
yeah,
suspicious shot selections.
he did. And like it's I was frustrated with them, but I think he had like 13 in the third quarter or something. Like he hit some big shots, big free throws. So it's just Tobias who just hasn't had a game where you can
Yeah.
feel good about it. So I think the disappointing thing for me with Tobias is I think the thing I love about him is typically his consistency. And even if he has 2 down games, you get 2 good ones. And it just feels like we haven't got one good game from him yet. But
I know.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe going to Philly on I think Tuesday
Yeah.
night or Wednesday, whatever it is. Like hopefully he can get some revenge. And like imagine Tobias 30 piece in Philly. That would be pretty good with a dub.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like theoretically, he can get you 25, 30 any given night. I mean, not every night, but any night he could be scoring 25 plus. So who knows? But yeah, definitely disappointing. My guess is JB's going to make more of a concerted effort to get him going, sort of like he did
Yeah.
tonight. Because you need him to be going to alleviate all the double and triple teams on Cade.
Yeah. I love that
Otherwise,
call. Yeah. I think JB can help him out more because I think I don't know if I spoke about it with you or one of the other streams, but I do feel like it's been a lot of just Tobias posting up or Tobias catching it and like trying to do something. Whereas I think maybe you
yeah,
could get him on the move, just coming off a screen, maybe. I don't know, just help him a little bit more.
yeah.
But so that like I think JB and even Cade as a point guard can help him out a bit more. But
Agreed. I think that's something they'll probably make an effort to do. Granted, Tobias and Stu did try that pick and roll that ended in a moving screen. Our bigs just don't know how to set screens. Granted, that one wasn't necessarily on Stu because Tobias started moving early, but
that was a killer, that one.
yeah, just someone needs to teach the bigs really how to properly set screens.
Well, since you brought them up, they were a bit lower on my notes here to talk about, but Stu and Duran tonight. Uh, what are your thoughts? I don't know how to feel. I think he had 15 rebounds in like
Yeah,
15 minutes tonight or 20 minutes. Like, but then it's just a couple of silly fouls. He had 3 turnovers, which I think were all offensive fouls. I thought JD was like got cooked a bit in the first half, but once again had some moments. He finishes with 10, 11, 2 assists, 3 blocks. Like
yeah,
his box score numbers are always crazy. Like,
yeah.
what do you think?
I mean, like I think JD stepped it up honestly defensively in the fourth. The whole team defensively in the fourth quarter. on point for the most part. Um, I mean, yeah, Stu is kind of what he is at this point too, where it's just rebounding machine, still having issues finishing around the rim. Yeah, still the silly offensive fouls. But I mean, like I don't have high expectations for Stu, and that's not to say I don't think he's a valuable piece, but like I think he's at expectations for me personally. Like I don't I never really anticipated him being like a true difference maker offensively. Like him being able to stretch the floor is big when he's playing with the Cade lineup, but like off the bench, it matters less when he's in the lineup surrounded by shooters anyways. But like so yeah, he's at expectations for me so far. I thought he was fine tonight. Durin in general, like I just need more defensively. Like
Yeah.
that's all it comes down to. Like that to me is going to take like that gives us the biggest possible jump if he improves defensively and shows it consistently. Until then, I think we're going to be in these positions more often than not, assuming everything else isn't perfect and we're not shooting like 50% from 3. I think he just needs to step up full 48 minutes defensively.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the you mentioned it there with like Stu's 3-point shooting not being as valuable because of like the spacing now they have with the bench unit and even the starters. Do you still think it's weird though he's only attempted 1 3 on the season opening
Yeah.
night?
I
Like,
mean, he showed really big improvement last year.
yeah,
I was never a Stu hater, but I was a Stu like shouldn't start like, his ability is sort of limited offensively. He took such a massive leap offensively last season that it is really weird that they're not
yeah.
leaning into it in any way.
It kind of like I thought like because the game against the Pacers he took one and was hesitant. Then game two he was just a mess with all the foul trouble.
Yeah.
But these past two games, it kind of does feel like maybe it's a directive. Like you're not taking threes, you're rolling every time to the rim.
Yeah.
Um,
It
I don't
does
know. What are
seem
your
like
thoughts
that.
on? You think that? Yeah,
I forget. I don't remember if it was JB or Langdon this summer. I feel like somebody said something about him playing in the post more.
yeah.
I forget if I'm making that up, but that
No, I
I
think you're right. I think I do recall something about him being. It was like something maybe like we feel like we can use him more in the post or something like
yeah,
that. Take
something like
advantage of
that.
that. Yeah,
And I feel like they've just gone all in on that, which I don't really understand. Like I think for sure when he has a mismatch, when he's playing, well, I guess he's playing exclusively the 5 now, but he could still bully fives, but I think it's weird that that's how they're exclusively using him really.
yeah. I agree. Like I do like what you said. It makes perfect sense. Like they don't need his spacing really on every
Right.
possession. So having more around the rim, having like setting screens and rolling with K. But it's just yeah, like you said, it felt like last season he actually made a jump as a shooter, and it's something that I feel like could still help this team.
Yeah,
So
just
it's
because
just
it's
been
not
weird.
absolutely necessary anymore, like doesn't mean it can't help. I mean, the league at
Yeah,
this point is definitely built on threes and
yeah, for
dunks,
sure.
and if he's not giving you any and layups, but you know,
No, for sure. And like, especially when Ron Holland's out there, like Ron tonight played 14 minutes. I thought he was actually not bad.
yeah,
I thought he looked good on some of those drives. But when
more under
Ron's there,
control.
who's just a non-shooter, like maybe you can use Stu spacing there. But
Right.
yeah, it's been interesting. It's gonna be something I keep an eye on for sure. Uh, the other player I wanted to go to was Jaden Ivey. I've got down here Ivy no show until last 5 minutes. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but I think based on what we've seen so far, I thought his game was pretty disappointing. Like maybe I am being harsh, but I just thought he had 18 points, but I'm pretty sure he hit three threes in the last few minutes when it was kind of around that 10-point mark.
Mhm.
Um, maybe I'm being harsh, but I just thought he didn't have the most impact, and it was probably his worst game of the season so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think probably first quarter it was just Cade time and
Yeah.
sort of everybody get out of the way and let him cook. But yeah, he wasn't as effective leading the second unit as he has been. I still love that JB is doing what, Monty wasn't willing to do to the last like 10 games of last year, where it's like one of them's out on the court at all times. Like that's big. Um, yeah, I think that's something that it's like I'm not disappointed in the game necessarily, but you want more from him, especially when Cade's in foul trouble.
Yeah,
But I mean, again, that third quarter looked great when Cade was on the bench, and that was Ivy leading that. So
that's true.
I, I'm not mad at it. Definitely would like him to be able to step up more, like end of the second when Cade's out with foul trouble. But I don't know. I think it was a fine game from him.
Yeah.
Like I'm not really feeling strongly one way or another, but I thought it was solid.
No, I think I like that tag. I think I'm being a bit harsh. I think I've just got my expectations set really high for Ivy
That's
now.
fair. I mean, he's looked great 4 games in,
Yeah,
and if this is his sort of floor game,
yeah,
we're in for a good season.
yeah. No, I agree. Um, so I'm gonna get Blake up here soon in the next few minutes. Is there anything else you want to chat about? I got the only other thing I had here was kind of Fontecchio and Beasley kind of having bad games after looking good the one before. But is there any
Yeah.
other thoughts you have on the game? Looking ahead to Philly, maybe. Yeah,
I don't know, man. Yeah, like you said from the jump, sort of definitely deflating loss. You'd never like to see 0-4 on your team's record. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's they just gotta dial it in, especially in the fourth quarter. Like the thing is, it's like Cade is very self-aware. I mean, turnovers have been an issue his whole career. He's very self-aware of it. Just got to figure it out.
yeah,
And theoretically, JB is someone who can help with that. I mean, again, it's like when you have the ball in your hands as much as Cade, you're gonna have 2, 3, maybe even 4 a night. It's just how it goes. Like all the stars in the league average 3+ turnovers. Um, the thing is, it can't happen in the fourth quarter when it's like that's the game. When, it's a few point game, 2 turnovers, bang, it's 10-point game. Like, I don't know if that was the exact situation tonight, but like
yeah. It
they
was.
were momentum swinging turnovers. And so at the very least, if you're still gonna have that 3, 4 superstar tax turnover a night, they just gotta be at better times.
Yeah,
This is really what it comes down to. I think JB's gonna get them right. I think the win is coming sooner than we think, but I don't know. I mean, I do think they've really put themselves in a spot to win each game, or at least to be in striking distance. They just got to figure it out. I mean, it was always going to take time, but it doesn't make it better.
yeah. I know it's hard. I think where we'll finish here is, uh, we were talking about turnovers. Like Ivy had 4 tonight, and I think when Cade and Ivy are on the floor together, it's fine. It's good. They got 2 real ball handlers, and then you have Tobias who can do some things.
Yep.
But I think where we're seeing some issues is when it's just Cade or just Ivy. That's
Yeah.
where the lack of backup point guard I think is really shining through.
Yep.
And like, do you think that's something they should be looking to address like ASAP, or is it something you wait on? Because yeah, I feel like some more decision making would help these guys.
It's always been weird to me that they never went and got an actual backup point guard. Like I know the plan is to let Ivy more or less run the second unit, and I'm on board with that
Yeah,
completely. But there's been a lot of moments so far in these 4 games where, like you're saying, like it would be really helpful to have another decision maker out there, especially a vet
yeah,
who can just sort of calm the troops, get a couple easy buckets, call it a day. Like
yeah.
it's weird they haven't gone out and got that. I'm guessing if it keeps going like this, that'll be something that's addressed sooner rather than later. But yeah, I don't know. I think everybody also just needs to sort of keep in mind, like, I know we've been rebuilding essentially for 15 years. Trust me, I know. And I'm not even asking you to be patient, but just keep some context, like new GM, new coach, young team. Like it sucks. Moral of the story. But it should get better. It
No,
should.
it's so true what you say. Like it is a new regime, new coach. Like there's a lot of newness here, and unfortunately, they just aren't getting the grace that they probably should because of what we've been uh what we've witnessed in the past 15 years, or especially just the last 4 years. Like,
Yeah,
I
even
know
just
that.
go back 1 season, it's all
Yeah.
terrible. So I get it. I
So,
get it.
like, I get it, but I think it's a great way to finish. Like, things are looking better, and
Yeah,
I don't expect that to make anyone feel good, but
for sure.
I think just talking to you directly here, like, I'm with you, I agree, and I
Yeah.
think there's a win coming sooner than we think, but, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Totally agree.
Alright, man, well, like I said, last time, everyone knows where they can find you, but just quickly plug yourself, and, yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on, as
For
always.
sure. Yeah, thanks for having me back. Just follow me on Twitter at Pistons Thoughts. Jack, keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, and you have a good night, and,
You
forget
too.
about this game.
You too, when you're done here.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
See ya. You too.
Bye. All right, we are going to bring up my man Blake Silverman from the Pin Down over at Detroit Bad Boys. He also does some WNBA coverage. He went, or he went to the same college as Woj.
Yeah,
Where does
I got my master's
he
from
got his? Yeah,
the school that he is an alum of and now works at
and,
again.
and I believe Woj actually sent you a DM. Is that correct?
He
You guys have had some contact, or
oh
am I
God.
missing?
I feel like this is a humble brag, but he does follow me on Twitter.
Yes, that's it.
He spoke to a couple classes and stuff, so we've been in contact from that. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
He like after he spoke, just sent him like a thank you email, and he got back to me when he was still with the senior NBA insider. So I'm like, whoa, do you have a ton more important stuff on your plate? But
I love it.
unbelievably nice guy. Happy he's doing something that makes him happy and gives him more time with the family, I'm assuming.
100%. And didn't he say, like, "I see your stuff"? Like, he sees your
Yeah,
articles and stuff? Yeah.
yeah, it was I mentioned it was actually when I talked to him, it was a day last season when the Pistons, they made all those moves with like the two-way players, like they signed Buddy Boeheim and Tosan. So I mentioned that when I talked to him, he's like, "Oh, Blake, like, yeah, I remember you. I see your stuff." And I'm like, "What? Like, Woj? Are you for real?" So that was cool. That was like a highlight for me. But it's a nice small school, so it's a cool community. I'm very blessed to be a part
I
of
love it. Well, I needed that bit of positivity and feel good vibes. We needed that. We've just had Jordan on. We've kinda gone through bits and pieces of the game, but, like, just as a fan, I guess, or, as someone who covers the team, like, how are you feeling just after that and after the 0-4 start overall?
I mean, not great, Jack. To be honest with you, I'm happy you didn't have me on first because it gave me some time to collect and I guess not overreact. I mean, we knew the schedule coming out the gate wasn't ideal. I would have thought they would have stolen at least one of the first four. I'm not totally shocked that we're sitting here right now. It's just tough because it feels like every game has been the same kind of story, just getting cold, not able to make a shot down the stretch. And a lot of that was the same tonight. I mean, something glaring that sticks out to me is they had more turnovers than assists as a team. I mean,
Wow.
Cade played great in the first half, but he had 6 assists to 5 turnovers. So that you
That's a
definitely
stat.
like,
That's a great stat, like, because yeah, sorry to cut you off, but I
no, you're
didn't
good.
see that, but that's a great shout because it feels like at times ball movement has been one of the bigger issues, particularly in the fourth quarter, so great call on that. Didn't see
Yeah,
that.
you're just not going to win many games doing that. And I mean, Isaiah Stewart had 3 turnovers. I know one for sure was an offensive foul. So it's just little stuff like that that I feel like time and time again I say you need to clean that up, and we find ourselves here. But it's a like I think I heard Jordan talking about it as I was jumping on. Like it's a new team, it's a new regime. We knew it was going to take some time to gel. So definitely not in panic mode, but it hasn't been fun to watch. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
I think I'm with you for sure. I was saying at the start, like I came on, I'm pretty emotional, like coming doing these straight after the
Me
game.
too.
I mean, I write like as soon as the game ends, I like quickly just try to gather my thoughts and write some notes down on paper to go through, and like it's super frustrating. But I think it's like ultimately like whilst I am so with any fan that doesn't want to hear this, I think things are trending in the right way, but um it's hard to say to anyone right now that while you can dig up numbers, you can find good patches. Like it's kind of hard to say this team is different than last season. I know, like, if someone's saying that to you, it's hard to rebut because it's just so frustrating. And there, it's whilst there's so much change, like at the same time, I'm like you. I honestly thought they would. I thought they would win opening night, and then
Mhm.
I didn't think they'd win in Cleveland. I didn't think they'd beat Boston, and then I thought tonight was the night. I put all my chips into tonight, so thank
Yeah.
God I'm not a betting man because I would have nowhere to live. But, uh, but yeah, man, like so frustrating. And that thing you brought up about more turnovers than assists, like that is has to be like I'd like to see the fourth quarter numbers on that overall because it feels like any flow they have just goes out the window in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm trying to just pull it up real quick right now. Yeah, 1 assist in the 4th quarter to
Wow,
4 turnovers, so or I'm
that's the
sorry,
game.
2 assists. But yeah, it just felt to me like Miami was getting more open looks, like defense was a problem, and then it was the same kind of story. Like, I don't think the assist number in the 4th quarter was totally a byproduct of ball movement. I mean, I definitely thought that once Miami got out on that quick run to start the 4th, the Pistons just started forcing things, taking questionable shots, and they just weren't going in like we saw in the past few games. And the Bally, or now it's called like FanDuel Sports Network, flashed a stat that they were like 0 for 6 from 3 in the 4th quarter until Jaden Ivey made those couple threes at the end, which made things a little interesting, but it was almost too late. So yeah, and another thing is like Malik Beasley didn't have a great night. Neither did Tobias. I mean, Jaden Ivey had a good night from 3, but it wasn't his best game ever. I just feel like they need to find a game where everyone clicks, and
Yeah,
that's asking for a lot, but that's what you need to totally like get you across the finish line.
for sure. Like it's you're so right. Like Fontecchio also, I'm not sure if you mentioned him then, he struggled and I
Yeah.
thought he had some really questionable, at least one pull-up three in that stretch you were talking about that was just a killer. And I did not understand. Um, but yeah, it's disheartening because like I felt like tonight they did so much hard work. Like there was multiple times Miami got out to double-digit leads. They came back, they got the
Mhm.
lead, and then just to start the fourth quarter like that was just I've already said this on here, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. But as soon as Miami got up by like 8 points, I was like, I think this game's done. Like
Yeah.
it just because it just felt like they'd used everything to get back into the game, and then you just have two bad turnovers, bad shots, and it's just immediately Miami just capitalized. And I don't know, something I'm noticing, and I sort of touched on the backup point guard position, but Miami just have so many guys that I feel like can dribble past shoot. Like,
Mhm.
even if they're not making their shots, like I feel like that just helps them get open so much. And for the Pistons, when Tobias isn't firing and then um Ivy and Kate having turnover issues, it's kind of like, where do you go? Like Terry Rozier is another one. Like he always kills the Pistons. Like
Yeah.
Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson now can do some stuff. Like Harkes, like it's just yeah. I guess like, do you think the Pistons like is there any way with this roster they can address the lack of kind of ball handling, or do you think it's just as simple as like they need a backup point guard?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would think that we would see more of a plan shine through at, I don't want to say at this point because it's still early, but like those few minutes that Marcus Sasser got in the opener kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, is he in the rotation? But he's like not. And I mean, it seems pretty clear that in an ideal world, JB Bickerstaff wants to stick to a 9-man rotation. And if you bring in a backup point guard who's the odd man out. I'm just trying to like justify why maybe there's not that guy on the roster. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense, especially when there are guys out there who could very well help this team. And I mean, yeah, we were talking about the assists versus turnovers. Like that's the thing too. I think Tobias, he can handle the ball. He didn't look great tonight, but that's a guy that you could look to, and he just had one assist. So like, and Jaden Ivey too just had one assist tonight. So like, it seems like there's not that guy you can go to that will make plays. You're kind of looking for guys to make that one more pass, which is a great idea, but it puts a lot of pressure on like Cade or Ivy when he's running the offense too.
Yeah. No, for sure. And one thing I've seen in the comments coming up here a little bit is just like JB Bickerstaff. What have you thought of him so far? Because whilst I put more of the blame on the players in these fourth quarters, just with some of the shots and the turnovers we've seen. At some point as well, it's the coaching staff. You kind of have to look to like, are they taking timeouts early enough? Like, should have they? I think they didn't take a timeout until it was all the way out to 8 points at the start of the fourth. Should have JB noticed that after Miami scored their third bucket and called one? Like, what have your thoughts been on him overall so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think fine at this point. Like I haven't really been mad at anything rotationally. I think personal preference wise, like I think maybe you even think about having Isaiah Stewart in there as your closer just for defensive purposes. I mean, you can't replicate what Jalen Duren brings you on offense and as a pick and roll partner with Cade and even rebounding the ball. But we saw with Stu tonight, like he's a good rebounder too. He didn't make a field goal, but he had 15 rebounds and is just a good defender, and he hasn't really been used as a floor spacer, which is kind of confusing to me. I'm really interested to see what everything looks like when Asar Thompson is back, and who knows when that is, because he can be that on ball defense guy that you go to in clutch situations. But it just seems like the defense is the biggest problem to me. And when the defense like digs you into a hole, we saw them force shots on the other end and things not go down and just get cold on the right time. And there was that run where they did make some stops, so give them credit for that. But I think overall, I'm just looking for a little more on that end.
Yeah, I think I actually somehow have kind of forgotten about Asar, which is, uh, yeah, I think he's a guy that would have helped so much tonight because, like, how many? I know long rebounds are hard to get sometimes, but it just felt like there was 3 instances where it was long rebound or Miami won the offensive board, kick it out, corner 3, and it's just those are just absolute killers, especially when you're trying to build a lead on the road or you're trying to come back. And I feel like Asar's rebounding is sneakily one of his best assets. So obviously there's no timeline. It's something he could be like, am I right in saying it's something he could be back like not next game, but within a week, or it could be the other end
I
of the
have
spectrum? Yeah.
I have no idea, honestly. Like the fact that we haven't heard anything kind of makes me worry that it's just going to be like this for a while. But I feel like we won't know until we know. And then on top of the rebounding, like he definitely needs to work on his handle. We haven't seen what it is, so what he did over the summer coming into year 2, but I think he can help with like playmaking as well.
Definitely.
Like that's on top of rebounding and defense. That's one of his biggest like swing skills and like upside to me. And he did that a lot in his like pre-draft process. And then we saw some flashes last year too. So I think he'll help there. Obviously, the handle is like a big thing when you're keeping that in mind. But yeah, I think they're sorely missing him right now. And I think Ron Holland has done an okay job. He's made mistakes. He made a couple tonight, just fouls on the defensive end in the fourth quarter, I believe. But I just think what Asar gives you, it's hard to it's hard to replicate, and it just seems like that's a glaring miss right now.
It really is. Just that type of athlete on the perimeter, I think would, I don't know if Asar playing means they've gotten a win so far, but I just think he's certainly would help a lot, and they miss him. Like, I think maybe they win the Indiana game if he's playing, but yeah, it's tough. I think it's been now about an hour since the game ended. What Before I let you go here, Blake, how are you feeling? I think we got Philadelphia next on the road in a couple of nights. Then we go to the Knicks, come to LCA. Then they finally get some relief, but they do travel to Brooklyn, I think, at the end of the week. How are you feeling about the next 3 games? Yeah, do you think there's a win in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to get that Nets game. If you can circle one, Philly's tough, and also the thing with Paul George potentially returning that night. But I mean, what you're 0-4 in 5 days or 6 days, sorry. So like, I just hope it's not leaking into the confidence. I mean, we saw what happened in the fourth quarter tonight. It just seemed like everything was being forced and things got a little stagnant and guys were just missing shots. So I think the best possible outcome is you steal one from Philly or New York. I'm honestly not expecting that, but I think if you're 0-6 and then you get some relief with Brooklyn at the end of the week and you find a way to lose that game, that's not good. And then you have the Lakers the next night who look really good too. So it's
Is it?
I
Sorry,
don't
did you
know.
just say it's the Lakers after Brooklyn?
Yeah, on
Um,
a back-to-back at home, and I believe they have to travel back to Detroit for that.
oh
So
my goodness. I haven't been looking past that Brooklyn game. Man, that's
that's the one you got to circle.
wow.
So it's the Pistons. I feel like watching this team for so long, you know that they lose games that they shouldn't lose, and then sometimes they'll find a win against a team that they definitely shouldn't beat. But I feel like that next step is taking care of business when you should. So hey, definitely if they're 0-6 and they drop that Brooklyn game, I'm like, we might have problems. It'll still be early in the season at that point, but yeah, hopefully they give us some like more positive things to take away, and overall just give us like a better watch, because it seems like, I definitely feel like it's been tough to watch. It's been fun, just a little frustrating. So I hope that
Yeah.
changes.
I think I think even just as fans, once they get that first win, we'll be able to loosen up a bit watching them. Like, I feel
Yeah.
so tense watching this. And like you said, like, it's been hard at times to actually appreciate, like, and just enjoy some of the good play, because there's been plenty of good moments. But like, just the fact there's no win, and you kind of feel like every night that as soon as that fourth quarter rolls around, it's over. It's made it like a tough watch, and I feel like you can just feel that. So, uh, look, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Well,
you.
welcome anytime. Love to have you on. Hopefully, after a win in the next few games. I know you're traveling soon, but yeah, it's been a pleasure, Blake. Tell the people they can find you.
Yeah, I'll definitely be back soon. You can find my written work at DetroitBadBoys.com. Check out everything everyone is doing over there. A bunch of great work. I also do the Pin Down podcast with Wes Davenport. We normally record on Thursday evenings. We'll be a little flexible with that now that the season started. And I saw a YouTube user say this in the chat, but be sure to like this, subscribe to Jack, everything he's doing, pumping out a bunch of great content. So Jack, really appreciate you having me on. I'll definitely be back soon.
Of course, man. No worries, and have a good night. We'll
You,
talk soon.
you too. See ya.
All right, bye. All right, we are bringing up my man Cody. No fly zone 906. I've talked enough.
Jack.
uh, yeah, how you feeling?
I mean,
It's been about
it,
an hour now since the game finished. So, thoughts?
it's getting to that point really for me where, you know, I'm going to start trying to trend SOP, same old Pistons, because it's really turned into the same old Lions. It's the same. It's like the Lions were for so many years. No matter who
Yeah.
they got in, no matter who the coach was, no matter who the GM was, no matter who no matter what factors you want to bring in, they just can never get it done. They never can get it done. And
Can I
I
just ask,
tweeted,
sorry to cut you off, but just with the Lions, the same old Lions, is this like peak, like when it was like Stafford and Megatron? Like they had the talent to an extent, but they just fumbled it all the time? Or does it even go
uh,
further back?
I think. I mean,
I think,
if you want to make a comparison to last year was 0-16 Lions in the
yeah,
NBA equivalent, like just like the worst possible season you could have. Because I mean, like the worst possible. The Wizards stole one night against the Hawks at Atlanta. Like, I
yeah,
mean, the Raptors took the Nuggets to overtime and led that game cover to cover. I mean, there's just so many examples of bad teams win all the time in the NBA, and I really thought, like you, this was gonna be the one they were gonna win it. I thought the first half through the first 18 minutes was fine. Obviously, they closed terribly, and then you have one more gigantic run at the beginning of the fourth that sinks your ship.
yeah,
I'm starting. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the sample size is getting to be big enough. I'm really starting to be concerned with fourth quarter Cade. He just does not close well. He just doesn't. And I like you and Blake were talking about. I love what Cade's been offensively this year. I think he's been dynamic. He's had amazing stretches, like the first quarter where he scores. I don't know if he scored the full 18 in the. I think maybe 14 or 16 in the first quarter on a perfect
yeah,
shooting. And in the fourth, it's like, are his legs gone already? Every shot was short, missed layups, two brutal turnovers to start the fourth, then a third by Ivy. They go up 8 instantly. It's just like I feel like this. I feel like this is like some teams can get out of the tanking and get out of, hey, we tried to lose forever, or we tried to lose forever. Um, I just don't. I'm wondering if this team is never going to be able to get all that losing out of their head.
yeah. No, and I think like that's the thing. Like this was not like not only was it like tanking, but this team is historic. Like the past, like they won 17 games in 14 games. Like I know Cade was injured for much of the 17-win season, but like that is a lot of losing. Like that's not just one 20-win season. Like even the season before that, like Cade's rookie year, I think they won 22 or something, and we all kind of think that was the best year of the Cade era. But I like what you brought up then about the sample size with Cade's fourth quarters, because I think as a rookie, I remember he actually had some good clutch numbers, at least in like his first half of his rookie season. But honestly, yeah, I'm keen to go have a look at them. But just watching it, like you said, it feels like it's a bit of conditioning, but he kind of just loses his way in the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the Pistons need to do more to help him because, like, Miami did exactly what Indiana started doing in game one. They started trapping hard off screens, not
Yeah,
letting him get touches in the post. Like, but we all know that's the NBA. Like in the regular season, teams aren't playing their hardest effort wise on defense the first three quarters. Like
yeah,
it's just not how the NBA goes. There's so many games, players log so many minutes. Teams crack down when they have to, when the game's on the line.
yeah,
It's just tough. And I mean, we can get into more than just Cade. It's not just Cade. I mean,
yeah,
Tobias has been awful, point blank.
yeah,
Period. Like literally awful. He's no show out there. No defense. His handle was sloppy today.
yeah. It was
And then
really bad tonight.
and then an air ball three from the corner and a pull up three from the top of the key that hits the side of the backboard. Like he doesn't even hit rim. It's like, dude, what is going on?
Yeah,
Like
he.
the fact. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'll finish and let you go. But like,
No, you keep going. Sorry, I'm cutting you. You go.
no. Just the fact that THJ has outplayed Tobias by I think a wide margin this year. And don't get me wrong, THJ not a good defender. We know that. He's not going to give you a ton on that side of the ball. He's old, but the fact that he's been miles better overall than Tobias this year is really really disappointing in
Yeah.
all ways.
No, I agree. I brought it up earlier in the show. Like it was one of the first things we spoke about is like Tobias has just not come through at all. Like in any game. Yeah, like he had a good first half against the Pacers. Then I'm like, I've really you forget he's out there, but then like you mentioned, I forgot about that three from the top of the key. That was a absolute brick. Like that came through on the TV. They like hurt my ears. Like
Dude, yeah, literally, if the backboard was made of like thin glass, that's going right through it in the crowd. It's breaking the backboard.
yeah,
It's brutal.
like I kind of spoke about it the other day, but I felt like maybe he's struggling to adjust to being the definite third option now, whereas maybe he thought coming in he was going to be more of the second option, but Ivy's kind of definitely taken that second scoring role, and maybe he's adjusting with different touches, but at the same time, like it's still like he's output and just I don't know what it is, but in every game in the last 5 minutes, he's taken a corner three that could have really helped this team, and he's bricked it, airballed it. Like it's been really rough. And yeah, like you mentioned, the handle tonight was like I'm not saying he has a good handle because he doesn't, but it was so sloppy.
No, it's like him and Tech look like newborn ostriches trying to dribble the ball off the court. It's like Jalen Duren looks smoother with the ball in his hand sometimes than those two did tonight. I'm just like, I don't know, man. And then Malik obviously took a stop down to the Miami Strip clubs and was up till probably 3 or 4 o'clock last night throwing ones because he was throwing up bricks all night tonight.
Yeah.
Awful.
I think he was awful. I think I give him and THJ. I'm not like. I think Tobias is the most concerning because you expect him to be more consistent, and he's been anything but. Whereas THJ and Beasley, I expect them to be streaky, and I feel like in each game, one of them's actually made a heap of shots. Like so, they're very similar. Not very. They're like kind of the same heat check kind of guy to me, at least. I think Malik's a better player, but like I don't think they're going to be there every night like Tobias should, and that's why I'm not really getting on them too much.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Like this team is so young, you can't. It seems like mostly in every game, maybe the Cavs game, you can say 2 or 3 of them played well. But it seems like every game, it's only been one vet that's played well, and the other 2 are nowhere to be found. And this team can't have that. They just cannot have. They need 2 or 3 of those guys to show up every night, and that's where your point reigns really supreme. Is Tobias hasn't shown up any night, so you're not going to get 2 or 3 when Malik and THJ are streaky guys. They're not going to give it to you every night. You have to have all I wanted Tobias to do was be an efficient 15-point scorer night. That's all I wanted. Efficient, not taking bad shots, not turning the ball over, helping move the ball, scoring 15 a night. That's not an ask for a player that's getting as much money as he is. That's not a huge ask. And he's just, I mean, what's he averaging? 11.5 right now or 12?
Probably less now because he only had 9 tonight. But I think, coming into tonight, it was like around 11. I don't think he's even – has he gotten close to 15? I think he might have.
In the Pacers game, he thought like 13.
Yeah. And that was after like 10 in the first half. So, yeah, it's early, but as someone who praised the signing to an extent, like it's tough to defend that 26 was it 26 million a year, 52 overall for 2 years.
Yeah, it's 25 or 26. I mean, and what hurts is honestly, like I hate to be this guy, but like Jeremy Grant's making like 6 or 7 more. I mean, what is Jeremy Grant making? Is he up to 40 or still low 30s?
I honestly don't know, but like I think it's let's just say it's mid 30s.
I mean, Jeremy's such a better player than Tobias, than the Tobias we're seeing right now.
Yeah,
for sure. And that's a guy I think maybe you could have got back. I mean, Portland doesn't want to win.
Yeah.
Like they have no incentive to win. They know they're not good enough to win, especially in the West. I mean, I don't know. It's only game 4, like you say, but I expected a lot better than this. Yeah, 10.3 points on 33.3% shooting. Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Not only the 10 points, but the percentages are horrific. Oh, here we go. Users come through again. So 29 mil at the moment. So maybe it does get to 40, but so 3 million more.
Golly, that's I was hoping it was much more, so I could be like, okay, Well, he costs $12 million more a year. The Pistons don't, they don't need that at this point. But yeah, $29 million. Yeah, I can't.
How do you think he goes in Philadelphia on the next? I think it's in 2 nights.
I mean, the way he's playing, I could see him just getting checked out of that game early, especially if and not checked out as in taken out, but like mentally checked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game's going to be interesting because you're more than likely going to have him beating George on the floor, and that's not good for the Pistons at all.
No, and I feel like Philly fans are going to boo Tobias.
Yeah,
With,
they probably will.
But yeah, I think Paul George could be back, or has been reported to be back, and then I think Embiid's back as well. Is that right? So
I think you should. I think Embiid was planning to take the first 3 games off for load management.
okay.
So I think it just coincided with missing every game but us. His first game is us.
Man, that's tough.
I mean,
where else do we want to go? I'll let you take the steering wheel.
I mean, we can go any number of directions. I mean, there's just so much.
Can I ask
Honestly,
you,
yeah, go
can I
ahead.
ask you then? I asked Blake this before, but JB Bickerstaff, how much do you put on him for an 0-4 start and the coaching staff?
I had this exact same argument with Jam G on Twitter, who I'm sure you've seen on Twitter. He is the Pistons resident, probably one of the most negative fans. I'm getting towards his level because I'm sick of it too. But he was saying last night how he puts a lot on JB, and I was saying, hey man, at some point these players have to execute in the fourth.
Yeah.
It can't just be, oh, it's JB's fault. His rotations aren't the best, which I think his rotations haven't been elite to this point. I think he's checked some hot guys out of the game for some guys who weren't shooting as well at the wrong times, things like that, just situational stuff. But like, JB's not on the court when Cade gives the ball away twice. They get 2-and-1s in a row. He's not on the court when Ivy tries the most ridiculous jumping fall away skip pass that easily gets stolen. It's like,
Yeah.
he can't, like, he can coach him up as much as he wants, but at the same time, you have to trust your players to execute. Now, the only thing, and you talked about it a little bit, there's times where I wish he took some timeouts a touch earlier. Like maybe when Miami gets up 6 right away, like, okay, that's enough. And then maybe, who knows, you get a good play out of the inbounds, you cut it to 4, and then it's not as bad. But I don't know. You can't. I don't think you can put too much on JB, but I think you got to put more on the players, like just to own up and be a functional NBA team on the floor when it matters. Like Keith, I forget his Keith Black, maybe I think that's his name. He says it a lot. He's like, like, we can talk about the moral victories all we want. We can talk about the team morale overall when they're in these tight games with Boston. But at the end of the day, it's still a really bad team. Like, it is. It's a really, like, I even had higher hopes for this start than what I've seen so far. I thought for sure they'd win one of the first 4. Because, like I said, bad NBA teams beat good NBA teams or even average NBA teams all the time. Obviously, it's a really tough schedule, but the Pacers game, more than winnable, and the Celtics game, more than winnable.
Yeah.
Tonight was more than winnable if you cut out a few things. The Cavs game, I don't think game was the game I don't think they could have won. But tonight, in that, actually the stretch that made me the maddest, they were up 4 at the end of the third.
Yes.
And they had so many chances to push it to 7, 9. Kind of like the Celtics game the other night when they were up by 6, and they had so many chances to hit a dagger 3. And maybe Boston would have packed it in. Oh, we didn't have it tonight. There's 3 minutes left. Detroit's up 9. Whatever. They probably don't pack it in because it was Celtics, and they can score 12 points in 42 seconds. But like tonight, that stretch, and then I don't know what happened. I wrote this down. I have no clue what happened. It looks like Ron Holland checked in late.
Yeah.
He had no idea who was guarding. They inbound it to Jimmy. Jimmy, easy kick pass to Duncan, 3. 4-point lead goes to 1. Quarter ends.
But I think, yeah. No, that was infuriating, and I love that you brought that up and brought it back to the Celtics game as well, because those were two absolute key stretches. And I'm gonna try find it here, because not only was it that bucket that Duncan got to get it back to 1, but the possession before, I remember being so frustrated with what. Yeah, so Pistons are up 4, right? And that's when they go to that Tobias Stu pick and roll for God knows wise reason, and Stu gives away the offensive foul on the screen, and then that's when they come down. So you don't get a shot when you could have gone up by 6 or 7 with only like 40 seconds to go in the third. And then, like you just laid out, then Duncan hits a 3, and it's just back to 1 point, and you've still got the lead, but it's just that momentum feels like it's gone.
And it's fine if Duncan hits a 3 there, but not the way he hit it. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot come out of that out of bounds play. You're checking in Holland, and him have no idea who he's guarding. He ran over. He started running as Duncan was catching. Like, he had no clue, I don't think. And then he realized, oh, Duncan's wide open. That's probably who I'm guarding.
Yeah.
It's just little stuff like that bad teams and young teams cannot do.
I thought, yeah. No, I thought it was weird to put Ron in then as well with only 30 seconds. Like, you've just got this 4-point lead. Like, if you're gonna bring him in, maybe just hold it. Like, they took out Tobias for him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean and then it's like, okay, if you go up 4 into the fourth, that opening stretch isn't so terrible, because then you're only down 5 at worst. And if JB takes a timeout, maybe they're only up 3. But it's just like that error compounds on 3 more errors, and all of a sudden you're down 8. And like you, I'm like, yeah, it's probably over.
Yeah. And that was the same, that Celtics game, like you were talking about. They were up 6. I think that was like they kept the Celtics scoreless for like 4 minutes in that stretch, and you knew Boston were going to have a run. They're way too good to be held scoreless for 8 straight minutes, but they had so many opportunities to get that lead to 8 or 9, and they just couldn't. And then Boston, I think Holiday hits 2 threes in a row. And
yep, two corner threes, 2 possessions in a row.
It's
ball
game.
Yeah, it's you.
But these are the moments. Like, these are the moments where it's like, like, I don't think we're being unfair to really look at that possession to close the third quarter and really nail down on that as a key moment that they lost the game, because when you're on the road, like, I just feel like you can't have that. And then you give yourself no slack. Like, you give yourself no wiggle room. Like, it's too hard.
Yeah, I mean, you're and that's the thing. This, like, everyone wants to say, oh, the schedule's like, this Miami Heat team is not the Miami Heat team that won the title, or almost won the title, I should say. Yes, they still have good players. Jimmy Butler's 35. Like, let's not pretend. And not everyone's LeBron James. Like,
yeah.
Yes, they have Tyler Hero. Yes, they have Terry Rozier, who kills the Pistons all the time. Bam's really good, but they're like 21st or 22nd in offensive efficiency. Like, they're not a good offensive team. They don't shoot the ball extremely well. Tonight they didn't. Tonight they even didn't shoot it really well. But we just shot it worse. 11 of 33 or 34 from 3. That'll never cut up for the Pistons. They cannot shoot 11 of 34 and expect to win basketball games. They're just not. They don't have enough talent.
No, and I think it's fair. Like, obviously, people will say it's a tough schedule, but they've, apart from the Cavs game, they've been in every game. Like, so yes, you might say the schedule's tough, but it's like they have literally had a chance to win 3 of these 4 games. Like, we've just gone through them, but so it's a bit of a, it's not like I can't sit here and say, like, during the preseason, I would have been surprised if they were 0-4. I just would have thought they would have beaten Indiana or the Heat tonight, because I agree the Heat aren't who they probably get made out to be, especially in the regular season. Like,
yeah, I mean, they'll make the playoffs like they always do. They'll be a 6, 7, or 8 seed, like always. I mean, that's just who they are. They have enough guys in that team that are proven winners and have won the NBA that, of course, they will be in the playoffs, but they're not the level of Boston or the Cavs. I mean, they're not even close. And I think that, like, I think you mentioned with Blake, maybe not. Maybe it was Pistons thoughts, but I think the whole outlook changes a lot if you're just even 1-3.
yeah.
Like I think if they beat the Celtics the other night, I think every Pistons fan's like, okay, like this team's gonna have its ups and downs, but like we got one against the defending champs in a really good game, hotly contested. We came back from 20. Like I think it would make tonight a lot easier to swallow, but every fan is just, I mean, deservedly so. They're really sick
Yeah,
of the same result every time. It's
yeah.
it's
I think
maddening.
yeah, we were saying that it just feels like just as fans watching this, like it's so tense and it's been hard to enjoy a lot of any of the good stuff because there hasn't been that win, and there's this inevitability that they're going to come off the rails in the last quarter, and we're going to be sitting here talking about the same things. And like you said, if they beat Boston, like honestly, I, I would care because I watch every game, but like I wouldn't even care about a game until Brooklyn. Like
No, because
truly,
then
like
you could also be like, oh, they were probably riding high off that Boston game.
yeah,
Some of the vets went to the strip bars a little bit too late last night. They're in Miami, whatever. Like it is
yeah.
what it is.
But because I haven't got that win, it's just like we're sitting here like so frustrated. It's yeah, it like I don't blame anyone if they like I've said this multiple times now, but if they think this is the same team as last year, even though I think we've seen things to show they're not, like ultimately they're 0-4. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even Koo posted the 3-second Twitter video where he grabbed the
GTA.
Darth Koo hoodie and turned off the lights.
No, I missed that.
So yeah, so
Oh no. Oh man. Is there anywhere else you want to go, man? We can talk about anything. Upcoming game.
yeah, I think just last thing before we touch on the upcoming games, I think that there's a real conversation that Stu is the best big man on this team, which is sad.
Yeah.
There's a real conversation to be had because I don't care that he didn't score from the field, and I don't think they're using him right offensively. I think most Pistons fans echo that using Stu with his brick hands in the pick and roll is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
But the guy was active on both ends, rebounding,
Yeah.
pretty active defensively. Like the Pistons had their best stretches defensively when Stu was on the floor. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I saw an on-off rating before this game.
Do you want me to tell you it?
It's what's Stu versus Duran on-off rating?
I spoke about this on my show that I posted this morning. Isaiah Stewart's, I don't have the on-off, but Isaiah Stewart's net rating is the highest on the team before tonight, plus 13. Jalen Duran is the lowest, negative like 12. So
that bears out in my mind from the watch or from the eye test so clearly.
Exactly. And like that's with Stu giving you pretty much nothing offensively. Like it's all coming from the defense. And I spoke about it. Like I was like, I think we can talk about Tech maybe starting over THJ, but I think the underlying thing here is the big like Stu need like I don't think Stu should be starting next game because his offense is weird, but like it's Stu and Durant.
Well,
like I think that's their biggest issue right now. One of many, but potentially their biggest in the starting group.
I mean, Stu doesn't have to start, but he'll be in about the 9-minute mark because Embiid's going to draw 2 fouls on Durant in about 14 seconds. So it won't matter. He'll be de facto starting even if he's not because, Durant's just getting chewed up. And honestly, like outside of his highlight plays, what is he doing out there? Nothing to me. His highlight dunks, great. Like that's it.
Yeah, it's been rough. Like every time, like dude, like this is like, but prior to this season, like the way I would watch games most of the time was watching it back on replay at night because I'd be at work, and you would see Jalen Duran's box score before you watch the game. And because of that, maybe I had a warped view of watching it. I know this sounds weird, but now that I am watching every second, it is just like the box score. Like every time I'm looking at it after the game, I'm like, what the hell? He had 10, 11, 3 blocks tonight, 2 assists. Like I did not notice that. Like he had that nice block on Jimmy Butler, but like you say, it's outside of the highlight plays. It's just like, I don't even know he's kind of there. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, it goes back to your point the other night. It's a lot like Andre Drummond, where the box score popped off the page, 22 and 20, and the Pistons lost by 14, and you're like, Okay, yeah. I mean, I watched the game. He had a lot of rebounds. He had a
Yeah.
lot of dunks, but he doesn't play a lick of defense.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
It's
it's like the kid has the body and athletic gifts like that most guys would dream of.
yeah.
I really that's why I say like if you can combine Stu and Duren, you have a great big because you can put Stu's defensive ability and motor in him,
Yeah.
and that would supercharge Duren because the more and more I watch him, the more and more I think he does like, and I don't know him, so I can't. This is just conjecture, but I really don't think the kid loves basketball. I really
Yeah.
don't because the like you can tell Cade when he walked up the court, he was so pissed,
Yeah.
so angry when he walked off tonight on that last possession when he just dribbled it into the floor and threw it and said, "Screw this, I'm off the court." I don't know, man. Duren just doesn't strike me as that kind of guy who really wants it.
It's the
And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of NBA players who've been good that I don't really think love basketball. They're just extremely gifted. They love the lifestyle that comes with it, the money, the women, the cars. There's been a lot of NBA players that have been like that who have been successful. I just don't see it in Duren's cards right now because at his position with the way he plays, it's not like he can just be I don't know. I'm trying to think of a player off the top of my head, but like there's other positions in basketball where you can just come off the bench and be a heat guy, like a
yeah.
flamethrower, and not really give a lick of defense because that's not your role. The way he plays center, he has to be good defensively or he's useless because that center limits you so much offensively in today's NBA. It's just
Well, I think you brought it up the other night when we were talking about him with Andre Drummond, and it was just like Durant is good when the going's good, when the momentum's there, but as soon as it tightens up or as soon as, the other team's on the run, he's not there. And maybe you're right. Maybe that comes back to him just not having that because the motor's been questionable. That was the thing last season that disappointed me so much with him is like, just felt like he didn't care sometimes. And like, um, maybe it's all feeding into one thing about like you said, maybe he doesn't have the passion for basketball. It's more like he's got all the gifts and it's just, yeah, it's not there for him. But
yeah. I mean,
it's yeah,
and that's okay because like if I was as gifted as him naturally, and I could go make because in his career he will make $80 to $100 million.
yeah,
Even if he got washed out of the next contract, he's making $100 million
yeah,
because someone will pay Jalen Duren a 4-year, $60 million contract like Stu and try to rehab him, and then he makes his $100 million, and he
yeah,
plays in the NBA for 8 years, and he's only 26 when he gets out, and he has more money than he knows what to do with. He gets to live
yeah,
the best rest of his life. Who could blame him? Anybody, if anybody could do that, they would.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it just sucks for us that that could be the case, and that he just might not have it because I don't.
yeah.
He's giving me less. He's giving me less this season than he did the start of last season, and we all saw how the start of last season ended, which was him playing really terrible basketball.
All I will say is that the start of last season they played the Bulls, Hornets. I guess they
Yeah,
played the Heat, like it's year 3 for JD. Defense was a point of emphasis for him, and yeah, it's been disappointing. So hopefully he can make some strides because I kind of feel like if Stu starts doing some things offensively, like there's going to be a real conversation around who should be starting, and it won't just be us talking about it on the post game.
yeah.
Two guys who are sickos and watch all 82 games.
And by the
Maybe a
way,
much larger conversation.
that's worst case scenario
Yeah, that's
because
exactly.
you wasted at that point you wasted a premium asset on a guy that's now
Well,
a backup big that you don't even feel confident in.
so do you think so? Okay, this is a good conversation. Do you think if he is put to the bench, so let's say come the Brooklyn game, he has another 2 really bad games, and they just go, you know what, we're starting Stu. We need to win this game in Brooklyn. He's our best defensive look. Do you think by making that immediate move, he's like done? Do you think, or do you think you could, he has to prove it now as a backup big to earn his starting role back? Or do you think it's just
See,
done?
for me, like somewhere deep down in my heart of hearts last year, when Monty was just casting Jaden away, deep down in me, I knew that Jaden would fight through it and become a better player from it
Yeah.
because I think Jaden Ivey loves basketball. When
Yeah.
I hear Jaden Ivey talk about basketball, I see the passion. He grew up with it. His mom was a coach. He grew up around the game. He basketball, eat, sleep, breathe basketball from the
Yeah.
time he was big enough to dribble a ball. Like that's how Cade is. That's how a lot of these guys are. I don't know if I could see if it was one game or something, and JB's trying to send a message. Maybe that could light a fire. But if JB did to Jalen what Monty did to Jaden, oh, it'd be
Oh,
done. It would
yeah.
be done.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It'd be over.
Yeah. I mean, is that even a like? I think that's more of a compliment to Jaden Ivey. Although I 100% agree with you because I think what Monty was doing to Ivy was,
It's criminal. It's
it
criminal.
was, yeah.
Oh, I guess for the good of us, it's made him better. He didn't have a great game tonight. But I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, dude. I don't know what he did to his shot. I'd have to really go back and compare it. But it's just so much more fluid and
It's
repeatable this year.
yeah. I like just to my eye, it's the base. Like his
Yeah, I think he
base.
was drifting too much.
Remember, he used to have his feet really close together and his knees all like. If you go back and look at it as a rookie, it was a bit like more of a set shot, whereas now it's like base is a bit wider and, like you said, it's so much smoother and he just flows into it so much nicer. Like it looks
Yeah,
so nice.
yeah. I think a lot of it too was the feet were too close together, but also like he kind of floated too much, like
Yeah,
left or right. Like the key to a good jump shot, coming from a guy who always wanted a good jump shot and tried to have one but never did.
yeah,
You got to land like mostly up, and especially if it's not on a movement. If it's catch and shoot three, you got to land where you go up.
yeah,
You can't be floating to the right or to the left. I think that was the problem with Jaden is he kind of floated a little bit off his spot. And yeah, I'm really impressed with Jaden still. I thought after having a terrible game, he was one of the only guys fighting deep into that fourth quarter. Because
yeah.
I even think Cade kind of on a couple of those turnovers was just kind of like
Mailed
F
it
it,
in. Yeah,
like go on to Wednesday. I thought Jaden fought to the very last minute. I mean, he almost got that steal where I thought Jimmy pushed off where he fell to the floor in
yeah,
the corner. I was like, he. I'll tell you what, he's a fighter, dude. He might never
yeah.
be a legit number two on a really good team, but he's a really good basketball player. He's a really good basketball player.
Yeah, I think he's definitely like one of the big bright spots in this 4-game stretch and the preseason. But like you said, like I was probably a bit harsh earlier when I wrote down in my notes Ivy no show until last 5 minutes, but that was me being emotional. But I think like for that to be a bad game for him and him to still like be fighting, like you said, I think he hit 3 threes in the last 5 minutes, like and almost got a steal. Like the way his game looks and the improvements he seems to have made are it's exciting. Like it's something Pistons fans should definitely be clutching onto as some of the few positives so far.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. These players are still like I guarantee you within the next 2 weeks, Kate is an absolute stinker.
Yeah.
Kate is not going to average 27 a night every night, and it's going to be like because I also think there's going to be a couple games in the next maybe month where Cade goes for close to 40.
Yeah.
The way he's playing, I think he will have a couple games where he plays all four quarters and he scores close to 40. There'll be a couple nights where Cade scores 16 in a bad efficiency night, and everybody's be like, "Same old Cade, he can't do it. Whatever, it's a fluke." Like these guys are still going to have bad games.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of players in the entire NBA who are immune to bad games.
Yeah.
Maybe 6. It's just like your LeBrons, your Jokic's, your SGAs, like those guys. Those guys
Giannis.
are pretty much Giannis. Those guys are immune, but those guys. That's why those guys make insane money and have won or gotten close to winning championships because they're that good. It's just most guys in the league can't do that.
No, for sure. But I think I think most fans know that Cade's not one of those guys. I think from what we've seen. But I think there's still a portion that thinks he can be one of those guys. And I think maybe that's where some criticism comes sometimes. But I wanted to ask you this young core now. I know Trajan, we have a new GM, but I want you to power rank or rank from number 1 being the best player or whatever long term to number 5 out of Cade, Ivy, Asar, Duran, and Ron Holland. Just
This
rank them
way.
in terms of who. How can I phrase this? Because there's a couple of different ways, but I think it's in terms of like who are you investing in. So like obviously Cade's invested, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer right now, only because you haven't seen enough for Ron, is pretty straightforward. It's 1K, 2. I think if I was to bet again, because we had this conversation the other night, I think
Yeah.
Azar's ultimately, if he comes back healthy and proves it, will be the guy who gets traded.
Yeah.
And he'll be a centerpiece type of guy. But I think in terms of like, if everything was healthy and you were just sticking to these players and you were assuming trades, you didn't want to make a move, I think it would be Cade, and then you can flip Ivy and Azar, whatever your personal preference is. Because there's parts of Ivy's game that I don't like, and there's parts of Azar's game that I don't like. I think you can go, and then I think just because I've only seen 4 games of Ron Holland, it's Duran, then Ron Holland. But I would not be shocked if you asked me this in 3 months. If I'm definitely switching Ron Holland and Duran, because I'm telling you right now, I am this close to out on Jalen Duran completely. This close.
Ron was above Jalen Duran for me, like before the season, because of the position he plays and the athleticism he brings. So, and I just like I was hopeful JD can improve it, but I just think, like we've spoken about, Duran's inability to defend or do stretch the floor offensively, which he's never going to probably do. It's just based on positional value, he should be 5th for me. And then and that's might be harsh, but yeah. And then I'm aligned with you on the top 3. I think
But it's like, dude, if Jalen Duran could turn into, I'm trying to think of like the best comp in today's NBA or even recent NBA of like a guy who, like, it's tough because there's just not that many guys who can't shoot an 18-foot jumper.
Yeah.
But then there's not that many guys in the center position who do have the playmaking upside of him, because he still makes really good passes and he's really good on the pick and roll and stuff like that. But it's like, dude, if he ever figured out defense with his athleticism, if he ever unlocked that skill, and he could be a legit rim defender and a rim deterrent, like, then it unlocks so much. Like,
but I'll say to you, imagine if Ron Holland tightens the handle up and figures out the jumper a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it goes the same way. It go and guess what? If I was to bet on who's going to work harder for it, it's going to be Ron. 100%, it's going to be Ron who's going to work harder and try to fix it. Because listening to Ron's interviews, that guy seems like a worker in a junkyard dog too. And the way his G League Ignite coaches talked about him, said he was a workhorse and always wanted to be in the gym. I don't know, man. I think it's hard for me to love Jalen Duran because he went through that Memphis program. And I think that Memphis program is one of the shoddiest programs in America. I think Penny puts together good recruiting classes and then destroys that team every year. So I don't like the factory that he came out of, and he hasn't proven me wrong in that assumption that guys from Memphis just don't make good pros.
Yeah. Who are some of the names? Amani Bates, Wiseman, Duran,
Boogie Ellis.
Yeah.
And he's in the league now.
But user here posed this. I think this might have been to yourself. Why is it okay for Stewart to be a backup big and not a wasted asset and not Duran? They're both mid first round picks.
I'll tell you why, plain and simple. Stu never had the upside that Jalen Duran has. He never. When Jalen Duran was drafted, people have to remember, there were people who were saying he was a legit top 10 pick. People were not saying that about Isaiah Stewart. And guess what? When you just compare the two players, Stu might be wasted. He plays way harder. He's a way better defender, and the numbers bear it out that he's a better asset to the Pistons than Jalen Duran is. So yes, is Stu what we want him to be? Is he even living up to that contract, especially with the way they're using him offensively? Probably not. But people legit thought Jalen Duran, if he figured out his defense, could be a legit high-level NBA player. I don't think anybody thought when Stu was drafted he wasn't going to be anything other than a role player.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, let's just be real about that.
Yeah.
They thought, okay, he could be a good role player. People thought Jalen Duren could be a good starter if he figured out defensively. I'm
pretty sure Stu was considered a reach at pick 16 or whatever he was at the time.
Yeah. He was considered a reach. And, I mean, at that point in the draft, like, generally speaking, teams miss all the time, 16 through 32.
Yeah.
It's the NBA draft's not like the NFL draft. It's so shallow.
Yeah.
In most years. Like, yes, Stu was considered a reach. People didn't like the trade that they made to get him. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to say that if Stu is a wasted asset, Duren is the biggest wasted asset of all time because he is playing much worse than Stu. And the eye test bears it out, and so do the advanced analytics.
For sure. I wanted to get to this question as well. I thought it was a good one. It's something I was thinking about in that Celtics game. So, would we be happy if Cade scored 13 points but we win? He facilitates others and maybe hits the winning bucket late.
I mean, that's easy. We win.
Yeah.
I don't care if Cade scores 0 if we win. I really don't. I'm sorry. I want to win. I don't care. That's like everybody says this about NFL quarterbacks. Like, oh, he threw for 100 yards and they won. Like, who cares? They won the game. That's all it's about. People put so much time into vanity statistics and all this stuff. At the end of the day, these guys are paid to do one thing: it's win, not put up 30 points a game. So if you don't win, who cares?
Absolutely. No, I'm with you. And I think like the reason I really like this question though is because I thought in the Boston game, Cade, he only had 21 points, which I think is the lowest of his season so far. Wasn't really like, he found a bit of a rhythm in the third, but his shot wasn't really there that whole night or for most of that night. But I thought on the defensive end against Boston, that third quarter, he had a couple of huge blocks. I think Tatum and Brown shot like 2 of 12 when guarded by him. And I said like that might be my favorite version of Cade, that brings it on both ends, facilitates. He might not get that 28 points that kind of looks sexy on the averages and when you're pushing agendas. But if you're winning games or you're in games with the NBA champions and he's scoring 21 and doing the other stuff, like that's the Cade. Like that's still a number one guy to me.
Yeah, and I think the best part about this question is I think if you ask Cade the question himself, he'd tell you you'd rather score 13 points than 30 in a win. If you told him, hey, you can score 30 tonight, but you lose, or you score 13 and you win, Cade would say, give me the 13.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, the stats we're talking about Jalen Duren, like great example.
And that's the thing about the NBA too. It's the most apparent of all the leagues, the most empty calorie stats of all leagues.
Yeah.
In the NFL, NHL, baseball, first off, in baseball and hockey, there almost are no empty calories because every game is somewhat close for the most part.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, this guy hit 3 home runs in a 11-4 loss. Like that barely ever happens. Yeah. Like in basketball, it's like the one sport. In the NFL, there's garbage time points and things of that nature that fool people. But basketball is the number one where if you just look at box scores, you're like, oh my God, Jalen Duren is so much better than Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
And then you watch the game and you're like, actually, it's quite the opposite. It's literally 110% the opposite.
Yeah. It's crazy. That, not to keep going back to Jalen Duren, but I've genuinely been shocked every time I've looked at his box scores and just gone, wow, I did not expect that. And I can see how people, if you're not watching the full game, immediately think he's the center of the future. But
yeah, and then just last thing.
No,
I guess before I got like a lot, like in the last 4 years, I've gotten a lot more deep into watching basketball closely, like very closely. Not just watching it, like not a casual fan because I still watch every game, but like getting deep into like basketball overall, the sport, and watching more and more teams and expanding my horizon and things of that nature. Like, it's just like, and not to pick on Jalen Duren too much, but like 4 years ago, if Jalen Duren came in and had the season he had as a rookie, I'd be like, oh, this guy, I gotta tell you, maybe next Bam Adebayo, something
Yeah.
crazy, because he just has that build and that look, and he has all these flash plays. But when you start to really watch other functional NBA centers, you're like, oh boy, like he's really far down the totem pole. Like when it's bad when you watch Mitchell Robinson, a healthy Mitchell Robinson, and you're like, that guy is 30 times the defender. And Mitch Robinson's a good defender, don't get me wrong. But that guy's 30 times the defender that Jalen Duren is.
Yeah.
Like that's where when you really start watching more closely, you're just like, man, you start to see the fatal flaws in players that you don't like. I don't even think you can correct a lot of it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think where we're going to close it out here, man, unless there's anywhere else you want to go, I just wanted to talk about kind of the upcoming games, what we've got for the rest of the week. They play in Philadelphia in 2 nights' time. Then they play the Knicks at home, I think, on Thursday or Friday. Then they have the Nets in Brooklyn to close it out. What are your thoughts, feelings, concerns, what are the vibes?
All I know is if we come out of this stretch 0-3, the franchise record for most losses at the start of the season is 8. So you are really staring down the barrel of setting another record.
Wow.
2 years in a row.
That's a
2
stat.
years in a row, 3 records.
Yeah,
Worst season of all time, longest losing streak of all time, worst losing streak to start the season. I think, honestly, try to find a way to steal one against either of these two teams.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. Philly's going to be pumped up for Joel and Paul George to be on the court together. They're going to be rocking. That place is going to be crazy. The Knicks, where opening night, I was like, okay, the Knicks are going to take a while to gel. They didn't. They came out and smashed the Pacers. I think they lost. Did they end up losing tonight, Tito? I stopped. I know they were down late to the Cavs, but I don't know if they finished.
Let me check here. I'm going to get this up.
Yeah, last checked it was like 105, 101.
New
Cavs.
York, they lost to the Cavs by 5.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, they were down. I know they were down late in the fourth. The Cavs actually made a furious comeback because the Cavs were down like 13 or 14 at one point in that game. And the Cavs are a really good team. They're gelling this year.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Knicks, they had that off. I mean, ring night in Boston, whatever, throw it out. Then they destroy the Pacers. Then they lose a tough game to the Cavs. I mean, could you potentially win that one? I mean, sure, but if you look at the two teams on the court, one has so much more talent than the other. Like OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. Like the list goes on and on and on. They're so talented. I think where you can get to them is the bench minutes, of course, because their bench got gutted, really, from the moves they made. But I mean, if you can steal one of those two, you don't go into that Nets game with a feeling of dread, especially because I believe they're in Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
So they're in Brooklyn, and that game is at like what? It's midday, like 6.
Oh, I haven't checked, but I think normally on a Sunday it is an earlier game.
Yeah, because like I mean, it would matter way more if they were home. But the lines for the Packers on Sunday at 4:25 for a game for first place in the NFC North. No Detroit fan is going to give a rat's you know what about that game on Sunday, especially if they're 0-6.
Yeah.
Like I'll watch because I'm a sicko. You'll watch because you're a sicko. Most Lions fans, especially if they win, it's at 3:30 Eastern.
So does that mean it finishes like the Packers Lions game?
No, it's going to start right at halftime. No one's going to be watching that game. You'll probably find some sickos to come on and talk to you after the game who watched the first half, but no Lions fan is going to be watching the second half of that Pistons game at all. So maybe a good thing for the Pistons because if they do start 0-7, at least nobody saw them finish that 7th loss.
Yeah.
But find a way to steal one of these next two, please.
Yeah, I think I honestly have no faith. Like whenever they travel to Philly before even the Weaver era and Kate, like they never win in Philly, and it's always normally a blowout. I feel like the game's normally over at halftime. So for me, it's the Knicks game at home because I think they are going to be a better home team this season. Like I know most teams are, but I think that's where a lot of their good potential wins might come. So I hope they can take advantage of something and beat the Knicks, because I'm like you. I do not, even if no one's watching, just for the team's psyche, like going to Brooklyn, there'll be so much pressure to win that, like just internally, because then they have
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
Blake said to me they play. So after the Brooklyn game on the Monday, they travel back to LCA for a back-to-back against the Lakers. So
yeah, and then you're starting up. Then you're definitely because I
then
don't know
you're
if you've got
0-8.
to. I don't know if you got to watch the Lakers this year. They look
Not really.
they look dramatically different with JJ Redick at the helm.
Yeah.
The offensive sets are like it's so next level. It's so modern. It's so next level. I almost can't even comprehend what they're running sometimes because I watch the Pistons every night mostly,
Yeah.
and they just don't have the players to do what the Lakers are doing. And Anthony Davis is, I mean, if you said who's the MVP of the league after 3 games, it's Anthony Davis. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, especially this could be LeBron's last game against the Pistons in L, or maybe they play him again. I doubt they have 2 home games against the Lakers. It's a split.
No, you only
Yeah,
play West once.
yeah, it's a split. So like this could be LeBron's last game in Detroit. Yeah, Lakers jerseys gonna be plentiful in that crowd. Yeah, no, let's just say this: you better find a way to win one of the next 3, or you're tying the franchise record.
Yeah. I didn't know that stat. I didn't know that 0-8 would be would 0-8 tie the worst start ever, or would that be the record? And 0-7?
No, that's a tie. That's a tie.
Okay,
0-8,
0-9.
0-8. Yeah, 0-9 is the worst start. Would be the worst start ever. 0-8. Because I was just a sicko and I was just like trying to look that up and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then of course Keith Black tweeted it. He knew. And yeah, 0-8. Yeah, I mean,
Man,
I'm like you. I think Wednesday's gonna be a bloodbath, dude.
I do. I think they like the fans. Like I know Philly fans are into it no matter what, but that Tobias thing, I just have bad vibes. I think Tobias is not going to handle it, and I just think it's going to be a game that if you're not like us, you probably turn off at halftime, halfway through the second quarter. I hate to be negative. That's how Philly games always go in Philadelphia.
Well, I mean, it's Embiid's first game too. It's Paul George's likely. I don't know if Paul George. I don't know if he played last game. I don't think he did.
Yeah.
It might be Paul George's first game. They're gonna be very excited to see those 2 with Maxey. They hate Tobias. They're gonna boo the hell out of him in pregame. They're literally gonna massacre him every time he's on the court. He's gonna be getting chirped by every Philly fan. It's just a recipe for Embiid comes out, gets hot, and yeah, it gets nasty. I don't know the year, unfortunately. I don't know the year when they started. I just saw Keith Black tweeted it, and he said that 0-8 was the worst start ever.
Man. All right. Can you give me something positive to close it out here?
Okay, so something positive. There's only 78 more games to go. No, I'm just kidding. I think the obvious positive is Jay Ivey,
Yeah.
and first or third quarter Cade.
Yeah. Awesome.
A lot of other stuff can't really put in the positive column, but those 2 things.
I would say
sticking to them.
it's those 2, and then there's a gap, and then I think I've liked just having. I know that vets haven't hit shots every game, but I feel like there's just more space for Cade, like that for him to do his thing. Like I think that's fair to say. But been a pleasure, Cody. Welcome anytime. I'm guessing you won't be free on Sunday.
No, Sunday I will not be free. I will not be free on Sunday. But I will probably be free for at least one of the next 2 games. So
all right. Well, we'll have you back on one of the next 2 if you're free. And yeah, man, tell the people where they can find you. Yeah, loved having you on.
Yep, at No Fly Zone 906. Gonna keep tweeting my highlights and lowlights like I've been doing. I think that's my new niche during the games. Is just bright spot, bad spot is what I'm doing. And I think it's easy because you can pump out a lot of those tweets really quickly, and yeah, they tend to get a reaction one way or another. And then yeah, I mean, I'll be popping in here as much as I can with Jack. And again, like, subscribe, everybody. Keep watching this. Jack's doing a great thing, and I really, really hope that you start to get more traction, Jack, because I myself would like to hear from other people in the community that maybe maybe there's a basketball savant that we don't even know about on Twitter that's just like, oh, I'm going to come on Jack's
Absolutely.
show and I'm going to give my thoughts. And he opens up a whole new line of thinking about the team that I haven't even thought of, or that Koo hasn't thought of, or whoever it is in the community.
Yeah.
I'm open for stuff like that. So again, guys, I encourage you to sign up. Jack's the man. As you can see, it's pretty casual conversation when we're up here. Just two guys shooting the breeze. So
Absolutely.
yeah, like, subscribe, hit a thumbs up, all of it. Do it all.
You're a legend, mate. I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, you are welcome anytime. And I know everyone loves having you on here. So we got some more love for Cody in the chat tonight as well. So please come on whenever you can. And yeah, go follow Cody. Go check out his stuff on Twitter. And yeah, we're excited to have him on here as much as he wants. So thank you so much.
Go Pistons reluctantly, but go Pistons.
Love it, man. Have a good
All
night.
right, mate. Catch you later.
Bye. So, guys, I think that was everyone who's messaged me to come on today's show. And like Cody said, to kind of close it out there, this show is called Fan Reacts, and it's for everyone to come up and talk. Like the chat, I try and bring up questions as much as I can and keep an eye on it. But I also want people to know, like, the point of this show is for you guys in the comments, or if you're watching this after the live stream, like, this is for you to come up and have your say. We can talk about anything about the Pistons. Doesn't just have to be the game this is following. It doesn't just have to be about the current Pistons. We can talk about historic stuff. We can talk about anything you like. Anyone's welcome to come up. All you have to do is just DM me, and I just send you a link, and you're on. It takes 2 seconds. So I can see here, I'm just too shy. No, I get you. I remember when I went on my first podcast, I didn't actually even go on the podcast. I was just sitting in. I messaged Bryce from Motor City Hoops, and I said, "Can I sit in on your podcast and listen to it?" And I remember I was so shy and anxious just to sit in on a podcast. I didn't even say a word. And then, so I understand why people might be a bit shy. I get that. Definitely took me a long time to be able to get to this point. It's taken me like 3 years to actually be able to host my own show. So, but please don't feel shy. Like, we don't have, like I said, we can talk about anything, your favorite plays, favorite players. Like, we don't have to talk about X's and O's and any of that stuff. This is just a place for everyone to come and talk about the team that, whilst they frustrate us, we all love. And I would assume anyone tuning into here is a huge Pistons fan. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining. And just really want to reiterate, if you want to come on the Fan Reacts, please shoot me a DM. It can be any time before the stream, and I do try and check them during the stream. But if you want to come on, message me before the game, the day before the game, and we'll get it set up. Because the reason I'm doing this is to give people a place to talk to other Pistons fans, but also I want to meet more Pistons fans from around the world. Obviously, I'm from Australia, so I love meeting you, whether we've already had another Australian up here, whether you're from Detroit, Michigan, different part of US. I want to meet as many Pistons fans as I can. So please join me if you feel comfortable to. And yeah, as always, go Pistons.